Hello fellow hunters and netizens. Today we'll be looking at the names of the Love and Deepspace characters and their significance. A quick disclaimer before we start. I have only played this game since the first anniversary. Therefore, most of the information will be from recent events, the main story, and some of the myths. I have finished reading up to Homecoming Wings in the main story, so the latest update, Deaths and Rebirths, will not be included in this video. Most of the information I've included can be found more or less on the internet. I do not claim to be an expert in any of the following we discuss. Feel free to correct me if I make any incorrect assumptions or connections based on the limited information I have. And of course, there are spoilers ahead. What we'll be looking over today are the English and Mandarin names of the love interests, how to pronounce them, and the meanings behind them, as well as some historic, literature, and mythological references used when creating and designing the characters. Before we start, please note that in Mandarin there are 4 speaking tones. We will be focusing on 普通话, the Beijing standard way of pronunciation. If you pronounce a word with an incorrect tone, you can have either a new word or one with a completely different meaning. Sometimes this is done intentionally, sort of like how puns are used in English. In case you've never encountered those with Chinese names before, the order is surname then first name. For every syllable, there is a character used to represent it. Every character by itself will have a unique meaning. However, the meaning may change when used in a sentence or when other characters are placed with it. The main character of Love and Deepspace calls all of the other characters by their full name. I'm not too sure why this is the case, but this is likely due to respect. This isn't always done with Chinese-based names, but when it is, there is usually a heavy significance or important symbolism placed on the family name. The same goes for nicknames as well. They often include a variation of the character's surname and their title. First up, Xavier, 沈星回. Xavier. His name is derived from the Basque place name Xavier, meaning new house or new home. In Mandarin, his name is 沈星回, meaning returning star. If we break it down, 沈 uses the third tone. It's a common surname, ranked 14th in the classic 100 Family Surnames book from the Song dynasty. While the character also means to sink or deep, in names it's usually used as a family name. You can see that the wording is similar to 沉, as in 沉如大海, to sink into the sea. 星 uses the first tone. This one means star. 回 uses the second tone, meaning to return. So when you say it together, 沈星回 means the returning star. 沈星回. As for his alter ego, Lumiere, it is pronounced 光烈, with the literal meaning being hunter of light. Now, let's move on to the story analysis. Xavier's surname, Shen, is a very common surname. This may represent Xavier's wish for being seen as an average surname, to blend in rather than to stand out. Xavier is loosely inspired by the French book The Little Prince. The story is of a child who travels between planets and learns about love, loss, and human nature. Thematically, this fits with his name meaning, returning star. His personality also seems reminiscent of the child in that story, someone who is still learning about how the world works and is struggling to understand it. The recent 10 Days With You event card shows a variation of that story, where the reader is placed in the position of the rose, and Xavier, the position of the little prince. We see him caring for the plant in a nurturing and gentle way, as did the little prince initially with his rose. Also, with Xavier's backstory, Sylus is a planet destined to die. The only source of hope it has to keep going is to sacrifice living beings for an energy source, to keep the planet running. Xavier is the star. He becomes a source of hope the citizens have for their survival when he and the backtrackers leave Sylus to find an alternative solution. In The Shining Stars myth, the player also refers to Xavier as "my star" in the iconic line, "My star has left me." It marks the start of his journey to find a cure for Sylus. In the CN community, he is also called Little Star or Xingxing, and there's also the star designs in the tassel that he carries with him. As for his English name, Xavier chooses to build a new home on Earth, rather than fulfilling his original mission of sacrificing the player character. In the World Underneath storyline, he even encourages Jeremiah to do the same, to focus more on dating than finding a way back. For his alter ego, Lumiere, Guanglie, he is the one who saves the character from wanderers when she was a child. It's indicated that he was one of the reasons why our protagonist chose to be a deep space hunter. Just like how Tara chose to be a deep space hunter because Captain Jenna saved her, perhaps this is how our protagonist feels towards Lumiere. Someone who doesn't build her a new home, but gives her a new go. In much of his card art, all of the environments are cozy and warm, things that we would look for in a home, much to like his namesake. Zayne, Li Shen. Zayne is a variant of Zayne, the same spelling but without a Y. An English name meaning God is gracious. It also closely resembles the Arabic Zayne, meaning beauty or handsome. In Mandarin, Zayne's name is Li Shen. Breaking it down, Li is with the second tone, rising tone. It means dark, dusk, or early dawn. It can also mean a multitude of people, giving it a subtle sense of humanity or society. Shen is of the first tone, high and steady. It means deep or profound. Put together, Li Shen, the name means deep darkness, or perhaps more poetically, the depths of night. Li Shen. Now, on to the analysis. We can start by looking at his surname, Li. As Zayne is a doctor in the current timeline, he's often working overtime at Axel Hospital, being awake in the darkness, helping others even when the world sleeps. In the alternative timelines, such as Master of Fate and the Foreseer, he also has a responsibility to serve the people. His title, Dr. Zayne, uses just his surname in Mandarin, Li Yisheng, or Dr. Li. He is also relatively well-liked, winning multiple awards and being voted as the patient's favorite doctor in-game. His given name, Shen, may allude to the depths of knowledge he possesses, especially regarding the human body. In the phone calls with the player character, it's shown that she often uses him to query medical advice, even when unrelated to his field. He's also shown to give lectures at Skyhaven Academy in his free time, and has a collection of medical textbooks. In his Foreseer myth, he's shown to have an entire library of books. Not only is he book smart, his emotional intelligence is also relatively impressive, shown to spend time with his patients and truly care for them in one of his anecdotes. The full name, Lishan, meaning deep darkness, could also refer to his alternate self, Dawnbreaker. The name Dawnbreaker in Mandarin is Li Ming. There's not much difference from the original translation. Li Ming means dawn, or more literally, blackness brightens. The Zayne in our timeline sees Dawnbreaker in his nightmares. Back to his English name, meaning God is gracious. It's almost a sort of cosmic irony considering how he was cursed in his Forcia miss. He is blessed in being able to see the future of every person except for himself, but cursed so his lover is fated to die in front of him every time. His story seems more as a cautionary tale regarding how power requires sacrifices. We're given the question whether these sacrifices are worth it. God is gracious. The meaning could also be likely if he was modeled after a cultivation novel, a xianxia novel. The general idea behind these novels is that through hard work and training, any mortal being can eventually ascend through godhood by cultivating. We see this in the Tower of Secrets myth that Zayne was not always the Forseer. While it is not clear how he became the Forseer, it is indicated that in the current timeline he skipped many grades while in school and from his audio dramas. Hard work and natural talent seems to be the theme regarding Zayne. On a slightly lighter note, people often praise higher entities after coming back from a difficult situation, such as being on the brink of death. As Zayne is a surgeon, he is responsible for a delicate procedure that one's life depends on. In that moment, he is like a god. As for the Arabic meaning of Zayne, we can see that he's made to embody the calm, mysterious, and graceful archetype of beauty. In one of the social media posts in game, it's shown that the player character finds Zayne's hands beautiful. Rafayel, Qi Yu. Rafayel originates from the Hebrew Rafayel, meaning God has healed. It is a classic name associated with the archangel Raphael in Abrahamic traditions, as well as one of the names of the three most well-known artists in the Renaissance, Raffaello Sanzio da Urbino, the famous Italian painter and architect. In Mandarin, his name is Qi Yu. For the pronunciation, Qi requires a rising tone, the second rising tone. It is of an ancient surname originating from descendants of the Yellow Emperor, meaning vast or grand. It's not a very common surname today, and this is likely chosen on purpose to invoke a sense of history and grandeur to his character. Yu uses the last tone, the falling tone. This means shine, glow, or light. Put together, Qi Yu means vast glow or grand shining light. Qi Yu. Now let's move on to the analysis. Looking at his name meanings, we know that Raphael is from an ancient civilization, Lemuria. This was a continent proposed in 1864 by zoologist Philip Sclater, later being appropriated by occultists in supposed accounts of human origins. This could be one of the reasons why the writers chose Qi as a surname, to give a feeling of mythology. His Mandarin name, Qi Yu, has the same sound as adventure or miraculous encounter, which matches his dramatic personality. The given name portion, Yu, sounds similar to fish. In the Xian community, He is often affectionately called Little Fish, 小鱼. The character for Yu also contains fire in it, which matches his Evo. Rafayel is described in-game as the last sea god of Lemuria. Throughout both his myths, he's given the expectation and responsibility that he will save Lemuria. In the World Underneath stories, we see that in the current timeline, Rafayel tracks down the people responsible for hurting and experimenting on the Lemurians. After Raven's death, for one example, in the World Underneath stories, Talia comments something along the lines of being able to sleep soundly at night now. His form of healing for his people seems to be through vengeance. If we interpret his name at face value, the meaning God has healed, we know that Rafayel is an artist. Artwork is often used as a form of therapy and creative expression. It's a safe way for people to express themselves through mental and emotional challenges. By choosing art as a career, it could be Rafayel's own way of healing himself, getting over the past. His paintings often consist of a chaotic sea, with the red he uses representing the blood he and his people have shed. Since Rafayel shares the name of the Renaissance painter Raffaello Sanzio, some parts of his backstory could be inspired by him. While researching Raffaello Sanzio, I found a very interesting fact about how he died. Raffaello Sanzio died at the age of 37 after engaging in excessive bedtime passions with his mistress, leading to a sudden fever. He then intentionally misled his doctors about the origins of his illness, leading them to prescribe the wrong treatment, weakening him and leading to his death. This point is relevant because after we get past the initial reaction of, why couldn't he have just told the truth? We can see that this was done in consideration for his lover. Had her identity been revealed, the repercussions she would have had to face would have been serious. For example, she would have been branded as a fallen woman, depicted as morally corrupt and demonic, and that was a time where women had few legal protections. Not only her, it was likely that her entire family would be dealing with the consequences. Raffaello Sanzio keeping quiet is most likely a way to protect his mistress, even at the cost of his life. We see this mirrored in games throughout every alternate timeline with our Raffael. From the very beginning, in Gods of Tides, he chooses to not sacrifice his followers' heart. In the Abyss Walker's myth, Raffael chooses to rewrite the prophecy, preferring his own heart be sacrificed rather than the object of his affections. It's likely that his fate as a tragic figure in love was chosen from his historical inspiration. Sylus, 秦彻. His name is a unique spelling on the Roman Sylus, meaning wood or forest. It's a short version of the Roman god's name Sylvanus. In the English version, the player character mistakes his name as Steris, an ancient Phoenician word that doesn't seem to have a meaning in the English language. In Mandarin, this is 清澈, meaning clear. She later names him 秦彻. Breaking it down, 秦 uses the rising second tone. It refers to the Qin dynasty, which was the first imperial dynasty of China. The surname combines 中 and 和, which means to pound grain. 彻 uses the last falling tone. This means to penetrate, to fully comprehend, or to be thorough. This could refer to boundaries or systems. Put together, this could mean something along the lines of penetrating insight, or, if we want a more metaphorical meaning, descendant of Qin, one who is clear-minded, decisive, and thorough. However you dice it, his name invokes a sense of power. Now, let's continue with the analysis. Since his true name is unknown, it is an interpretation of how he appears to the sorcerer. Mistaking his name for Qingche, meaning clear, relating to clouds, tranquility, and nature, could allude to how he sees himself. For example, he sees his love being, as he describes it, of the purest form. Both his English and Mandarin name has elements of nature in them, with plants being a common theme between him and the player character. Him confessing his affection in a field of flowers, and her bringing plants over to the N109 zone are a few examples. The symbolism of nature represents freedom while keeping a distance from society. It's shown in-game with him residing in the N109 zone, a lawless area separate from Lincoln. In the recent birthday story event, he's also likened to an animal multiple times. While researching the characters in his name, his surname, Qin, my first thought was of Qin Shi Huang, which was the first emperor of China. A little bit of a history lesson here. Before China became an imperialist country, it consisted of 7 states. This was known as the Warring States period. This came to an end when the state of Qin, a border state, defeated them and united them. This sort of mirrors the state of the N109 zone in-game, having 3 factions with equal power before Sylus arrived, defeated them, and became its leader. Qin Shi Huang is also known for his quest for immortality, drinking mercury in the process. Although he failed in terms of physical immortality, his name is forever immortalized as the first Chinese emperor to die of elixir poisoning. This is similar to how Sylus in the game was cursed by the sorcerer. For his given name, Che, to be sorrow, to penetrate, to cut through the core, it is often shown regarding his style of controlling difficult situations and working. When he meets our protagonist in the long-awaited rivalry, he taunts her with the option to shoot and kill him, even offering assistance when she hesitates. The yes, no, maybe so line, for example. He also disappears on her after realizing she can't resonate with him, thinking she's on her own at the point after the factory tour. In both these situations, even though he does not achieve the goals that he wanted, he holds most of the power and the cards. Our protagonist was never going to succeed in killing him, and he continues to watch over her through his crow's eyes while she's gathering intel about the auction, and often much later as well. He has definitely weaponized the strengths from his namesake. Caleb, 下一宙. Caleb is a name of Hebrew origin. It's most commonly interpreted to mean faithful or wholehearted, and sometimes even dog-like, not in a negative sense, but in the loyal, devoted best friend type we see in dogs. It's also a biblical name. Caleb was one of the 12 spies sent by Moses to scout the Promised Land, and one of the only 2 who stayed faithful and gave a hopeful report. In Mandarin, his name is 下一宙, which can be translated as summer's daylight. Breaking it down, 下 uses the falling tone, last 4th tone. This literally means summer. It also refers to one of the dynasties in China. Yi uses the 3rd tone, a rising tone. It means to use, by means of, or according to. Zhou uses the last tone, falling tone. This means daytime or daylight. Together, 下一宙 means summer by daylight, or more poetically, the brightness of summer. Right, let's have a look at how this relates to the story. Outwardly, Caleb is shown to be warm and emotionally present. He tries to be the kind of person who brings light into the player's world. In many of his audio dramas, he was shown to be the one our protagonist relies on throughout childhood. In the Limited Miss storyline, the player herself names him after seeing the sunrise. It's a moment of hope, renewal, and connection. His name is born from emotion, and it ties to this idea of daylight and hope. There is a bit of symbolism with his initials, XYZ, 下宇宙, which are often used to mark coordinates, longitude, latitude, and elevation, for example. This matches his job of being a pilot, since they require coordinates and other navigational tools to find their way. In one of the texts, it's shown that Caleb keeps track of our protagonist's coordinates and the distance needed to get to them. It also ties in with his evil being gravitational manipulation. Leaning into the Hebrew name meaning, dog-like, Caleb is often compared to a dog or a puppy in texts, events cards, and even in his own standard myths, due to his personality being loyal, affectionate, and protective, even when the owner is perfectly capable of protecting themselves. As for his surname, Xia, it's the same word used for Adam and Eve, for Eve's name, 亚当和夏娃. The creation story of Eve has been translated so that Eve was formed using one of Adam's ribs. Originally, Eve was created from Adam's side. Both versions indicate that Caleb and the protagonist represent two halves of a whole. We can also see this in the apple motif that Caleb uses. The apple is cut in half, with the half that represents him being the red, larger version, while the half that represents her, our protagonist, being the smaller green half. If we just look at the colors and the shape of apples from a consumer perspective, most people would pick the red apple since it looks juicier and tastier compared to the smaller green one, since the green apple would be underdeveloped. This could relate to how Caleb markets himself to Eva, so that they focus on him instead of his adopted sibling. Alright, if you've gotten this far, thank you so much for sticking around to the end. I had a lot of fun making this and finding series. I will be looking forward to doing more similar videos in the future. Please leave a note on your thoughts and what topics you might be interested in. I will see you in the next one.